Shalom, everyone. The Gemara in Kiddushin is dedicated a few pages to the topic of Kibud Av V'Em. And today I want to try to understand a little bit better the concept of Kibud Av V'Em, the usage in Hebrew of Kaf Bet Daled, which means heavy. And we need to see that mitzvah heavily, not lightly. And maybe we can also shed some light on the connection between the mitzvah of Kibud Av V'Em and Masechet Kiddushin. So I'm sharing the source sheets. And I'd like to start from page 39, Kiddushin Lametet, where the Gemara is quoting a Mishnah from Masechet Pe'ah, famous Mishnah, אלו דברים שאדם עושה בעולם הזה, כן, אוכל פירותיהם בעולם הזה, והקרן קיימת לו לעולם הבא. These are the matters that a person engages in and enjoys their profits in this world, and the principal reward remains for him for the world to come. And they are honoring one's father and mother, acts of loving kindness, hospitality towards guests, and bringing peace between one person and another, shalom ben adam chavero, and Torah study is equal to all of them, v'talmud Torah keneged kulam. And the idea of Kibud Av V'Em as a mitzvah that not only we get sachar in this world, but also we get the rewarded in the other world. Before we go deep into it, first we have to see where in the Torah when the Torah is mentioning Kibud Av V'Em. These are famous things. First one in Exodus 20, Perek Kaf, that is in Aseret HaDibrot, honor your father and your mother, kabed et avicha ve'et imecha, that you may long endure on the land that the Lord your God is assigning to you. And in Leviticus, you shall each revere your mother and your father. This is the Yirat Horim. And again, in Sefer Devarim, the repetition on Aseret HaDibrot, honor your father and your mother as the Lord your God has commanded you, that you may long endure and that you may fare and that you may fare well in the land that the Lord your God is assigning to you. So twice we have the Kibud Horim, once we have the Yirat Horim, and it seems like Kibud Horim, there's a lot of emphasis on Kibud Horim. We can see Rashi. Rashi, for example, is right on the spot. He's saying, so that your days will be lengthened. If you honor, they will be lengthened, and if not, they will be shortened. If you do not honor them, you won't have longer life, longer years. Your days will not be lengthened. And that idea is that the specific act of honoring is what's on stake here. And how do we do that honoring? And things are famous, but I wanted to show you a brief comment by Professor Avigdor Shinan on his on his new commentary on Masechet Avot. And here in there, he's quoting from the Mechilta, from the Midrash of Rabbi Ishmael, and he says, honor your father and your mother. Do I hear in this with words? In other words, do I need to respect them by using respectful words toward my father and my father? That is, am I supposed to understand that the pasuk is referring to honoring your parents in speech alone? No. And since in Mishlei it is written, honor Hashem with your possessions, kabed Hashem mehoncha, in Proverbs, we learn from this that honoring involves spending money, and as such, it is correct to honor parents also with food, drink, and clean garments. That's also continuing in the Mechilta of Rabbi Ishmael. In other words, it says in the Midrash that specifically about kabed, it's how do we do that? It's not just being nice to them with words. We compare it to the pasuk regarding God. It says that how do we honor God? With our possessions, with our money, with our assets. The same with our parents, and that's the famous halacha. And here I brought it in the name of the Rambam in Hilchot Mamrim. Says the Rambam, what is meant by honoring them? One should bring them food and drink, clothe them, and cover them from their resources. From the first, if they have, so you need to make sure that they use their assets to sustain themselves. If a father does not have financial resources and the son does, the son is compelled to sustain his father and mother, of course, according to his capacity. And he should bring them, he should bring them out and bring them in and serve them always, etc. And similarly, he should stand before his parents as one stands before a teacher. So the kavod is mainly doing actual things in reality with food and water and clothes, and make sure that their house is clean. And this is the kabed that the halacha refers to. But when we move on, and we'll start seeing it in the midrash in Devarim Rabbah, the Midrashim, Chazal are taking one step ahead. And Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel said, no one has honored his parents the way I have honored my parents. And yet I found that Esav honored his parents more than me. How? Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel stated, I would serve my father with soiled clothing, and when I would walk in the market in public so people can see me, I would dispose of those clothing and wear clean clothing to go out with. But Esav did not do so. Rather, the same clothing that wore and that he would serve his father with were excellent. In other words, Esav kept his clothing excellent all the time because he was coming in and out to see his father, and he was honoring him all the time with his best clothing, not like Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel that kept his best clothes when he went outside and people saw him. What do we see from here is that the Medrash is willing to put Rabban Gamliel, down and say that Esav is greater than him in the Kibud Avim, to emphasize how important and how dear the mitzvah of Kibud Horim is. And we get help, assistant to that idea from a very surprising source, Igeret Aristeas. The letter of Aristeas is the book from the 2nd century BCE. That's our source in Greek, of course, that is telling us the story of the 7 wise Jews who sat in front of Talmai, king of Egypt, the Greek king of Egypt, and translated the Torah to Greek, the Targum HaShivim, the Septuagint. And there in this letter, it says, when the king asked the 6th person, eldest, to reply to the question, to whom ought we to exhibit gratitude? And he replied, to our parents continually. Forever we have to be to feel gratitude to our parents, for God has given us the most important commandment with regard to the honoring of parents. Says the Chacham in the letter of Aristeas to the Greek emperor, to the Greek ruler, that mitzvat kibud horim is the greatest, the most important mitzvah that we received from God. And part of it is to feel gratitude towards them. Okay, so we the kibud here comes out of the gratitude we need to feel towards our parents, and saying that it's an important mitzvah, we have echoing for that in the Talmud Yerushalmi, which is in Pe'ah, which is said it is mitzvah which is the strictest of the strict, chamura shebachamurot. Okay, we need to pay close attention to that mitzvah, and the reason is also because it's difficult to fulfill that mitzvah. The kibud is kaved. The honoring of the parents can be not an easy thing to do. Maybe that's why the emphasis is so big. But we're moving one step ahead, and the step forward is coming from a baraita in page 30 in Kiddushin. As the sages thought, there are 3 partners in the forming of a person. It's a famous quote. Ken shlosha shutafim lo la'adam. 3 partners in the forming of a person: the Holy One, blessed be He, and his father and his mother. And when a person honors his father and mother, the Holy One, blessed be He, says, I ascribe to them as if I dwelt between them and they honored me as well. In other words, to honor our parents is as if we're honoring God. And if we want to honor God, first, we have to go through honoring our parents. And when God sees the people honor their parents, he dwells amongst that family. And maybe that is the beginning of a hint of a connection towards Kiddushin that deals with the man and the woman coming together in a covenant of holiness and form a family, or form togetherness, that from that couple can come a family. And that family is being the root, or the source, or the togetherness, that where things are going well there, God also dwells there, not only between the men and the woman, but also between the parent and their children. And just one more very, very sweet comment that the Gemara is giving us in page 31 about Rav Yosef. Rav Yosef, who was a blind person, says when Rav Yosef heard his mother's footsteps coming towards him, he would say, I will stand before the arriving divine presence. Yeah, arise before the Shekhinah. Okay? In other words, he actually felt that his mother is like, the Shekhinah coming to be with him, and he stood up out of honoring his mother. To dwell more about the idea of three partners form a person. Again, a very interesting comment we hear from Philo. And Philo from Alexandria, the Jewish philosopher, Hellenistic philosopher who lived in the 1st century CE in Alexandria in Egypt. And there's 2 places where he discusses honoring parents, kibud horim, and he says very interesting things. For example, it seems that the nature of parents defines the essence of morality and immorality. Morality in bringing people and other living things closer to their destruction of the body. They are people, they're human beings like every other human being and creature, and which all is dying. But they're also immorality. They're close to immorality because by virtue of giving birth, they resemble God, the cause of everything. Whoever does not honor his father and mother does not honor God. Okay, it's a direct connection. The parents create a child, bring life into the world, and with that, they're being similar to God. And that is a touch of immortality in the parents through the child. And that's why, if we do not respect our parents, it's as if we did not honor our God, because the parents are in a way identical with God. And in another place he writes, at the 5th commandment is honoring your parents, and it is holy. And this mitzvah of kibud horim, says Philo, is holy, since it is not referring to individuals, but rather it is referring to the cause of inseminating and birthing, which is in everyone. And through this, the father and mother are seen as those who bring about birth, even though they are not actually those that cause birth, but rather they are the tools for bringing, because God is the primary cause of birth, and mortal man is mortal man is the end. In other words, Philo is saying, father and mother, by giving birth to the child, they're actually, he's saying, they're not the root of the bringing life. They're just the vessels. They're just that through them life come out, because God is the primary source of life. But this is also another reason why we need to respect them. Lechabed otam. So we need to honor parents. We need to honor God. We honor parents, vice versa. And there's something else that we hear in Pirkei Avot. And it's a very famous quote. Ezu mechubad mechabed et habriot. Who is he that is honored. He who honors his fellow human being, as it is said, for I honor those that honor me, but those who spurn me shall be dishonored. Very, very strong statement saying that if we not only parents isn't obvious, but we are expected to honor each and every human being because they were created in the image of God. And if we do not respect people, we will not be respected. And God is turning to us and he's saying, I will honor those who will honor other people. I will honor those who will honor me. And it's a cycle. In other words, it's not only God that we need to honor, we also need to honor our parents. It's not only parents that we need to honor each individual just because they were created in the image of God. And then we are also being respected. We carry ourselves as human beings in this world in a respectful way if we honor all those above. And I want to end with a beautiful statement by Rav Shimshon Raphael Hirsch, end of the 19th century, beginning of the 20th century in Germany. And Rav Hirsch, on the 10th commandment in Shemot Kaf, is saying the following: the exodus from Egypt and the giving of the Torah are two historical facts which form the basis of the nation of Israel. Because through these two events, we show our submission to Hashem as the ruler of our fate and lives. And these two events are historical facts, and we know them and recognize them as historical truths. However, the only guarantee that we have for their truth is our tradition. And the basis of tradition is merely the accurate transmission to children via parents, and the reception of these facts by the children from the parents. Therefore, for all these years, the foundations that Hashem built for Israel rests only on the theoretical and practical discipline of the children as they relate to their parents, to their fathers and mothers. And we have found that honoring your parents is a basic precondition for the eternal nature of the Israeli nation. Hashem gives the child via the fathers and the mother his physical existence, but they are a link that connected the child to the Jewish past and make the child a son of Israel and a daughter of Israel. They are the link. From the parents, the child receives the tradition of the Israeli nation, which is formed by knowledge, way of life, and education, and they pass along this piece of history and the words of the Torah so that they too will pass it along to their children when time comes. Just as the eyes of the son looks towards his parents, so too will the eyes of his children look towards him and her in the future. Where there are no connection between fathers and sons, the generation chain would be broken. The hopes of the past and the future of the Jewish Israeli nation would cease to exist. Indeed, great is the importance of parents in Israel, and therefore the Torah gave them an honorable place within the 10 Commandments.